Alright, so today we will be surviving 100 days in medieval Minecraft. This is a mod pack created by ForgeLabs, and today I decided I will be taking a shot at completing this challenge. In this video, I have some things I want to get done. I want to build my own castle, defeat mini-bosses like dragons and Ferris Rotnot, a powerful knight, and finally defeat the two major bosses that plague our medieval lands. Nameless, a powerful magician that can raise enemies from the dead, and the Redstone monstrosity. This video should be an insane amount of fun, so I hope you enjoy it. If so, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications as it really helps promote the video. And with that, let's just jump into it. Alright, so we loaded into our world here, and our spawn point was actually a village, so that was incredibly handy. First off, I obviously went to go get some wood to get some supplies, and once I had done that, I then went to explore the village. I came across this chest here, which did have some loot in it. Most of it was pretty much useless, but it did give me a piece of armor and a sword, so that was really nice. I then went to go gather a ton of food, and this village obviously had a ton of hay, so we were pretty set on food from here on out. After going exploring a little bit, I noticed this castle not too far away from spawn. I knew there was no way I would be able to conquer that right now, so I decided just to avoid it, and we are going to duck and hide away in this forest off to our left. However, immediately upon entering the forest, we came across this outpost. So yeah, this thing was absolutely filled with knights and guards, and I was kind of wondering maybe I could sneak up on top of this thing, maybe loot and get out. So I grabbed a ton of wood, towered up to try and sneak on over. However, there were archers on top of this tower, and they immediately spotted me. That plan didn't really work out. By now, it was the end of day 1, so I simply decided to go to sleep to bring us to day 2. I wanted to explore our world more, so I immediately went out searching and quickly came across this dungeon outpost, which can have some loot in it, except there was a guardian with this. And I wasn't exactly certain what this mob was, so I just ran up to it and attacked it, and I figured we would find out. It immediately started hitting me, and I mean, I gave this thing an absolute ton of hits, but it was still doing massive damage to me. Blew me up in the air, nearly killed me, so probably not the greatest idea to attack this thing, so I worked my best just to lure it away from the outpost, so that way I can go and loot it. And this thing actually had some pretty insane loot from this. So I went ahead, grabbed all of that, and I figured, hey, let's go ahead and just use this loot to take on this magician thing. So I summoned an iron golem to help me out, and this thing was just taking hit after hit after hit, and it would not die. It was absolutely insane. So eventually I just decided to hide on top of this mountain, and finally, after several minutes, the iron golem dealt the final hit, and unfortunately for me, this thing didn't drop any loot, which was quite annoying considering it had literally 1,000 HP. I figured it would drop something. After searching a bit more, I noticed another outpost. This one was guarded by a ton of spawners. Lucky for me, we still did have some daylight left, so there were no mob spawning here. So very quickly, I destroyed all of those spawners so that way we can get to looting. After looting all of that, I went ahead and slept, bring us to days 3 through 7, where I went out looting a bit more, didn't really find anything, so I decided we were going to go mining. I figured it would be nice to get some diamonds for some better tools and weapons, so I found this really cool cave system, destroyed this mob spawner trap that is in our way, and went ahead and mined some diamonds. We continued to just explore this cave system for quite a while until finally we came across even more diamonds, and I figured that would be good enough for now, so I went ahead and towered my way out of here, which on the way towering up, I came across this mob spawning room with some interesting looking mobs. I still have no idea what these mobs are, but they were dealing a massive amount of damage to me, and I was actually wondering if that was how I was going to die. But eventually, I did manage to clear them all out. They didn't really give me anything good, but this chest in here did have some good loot. Explosive crossbow and a pretty good chest plate. By now that I had all of this really good gear, I finally figured I was strong enough to, at the very least, take out an outpost. So I went to that first outpost in the woods that I found, and I slowly lured out some of these medieval knights, one at a time, so that way I wasn't taking on the entire outpost all at once. We were nearly done clearing this thing out when this one knight knocked me down at the bottom of the tower, nearly killing me. Luckily though, we survived, and I was able to slowly take out the rest of the knights. However, this outpost didn't have any loot whatsoever, which was kind of lame, I thought. But hey, at least we took out an entire tower worth of of nights, and we got some diamonds from it, so yeah. I went out looting a bit more, came across this village, which was actually in the middle of being raided by like 30 creepers, so I summoned an iron golem to help me out, but for some reason the iron golem did not attack the creepers, which was obviously really annoying, so I just cleared out all of the creepers by myself, mainly just having them explode one another. I went looting, and this one had a ton of arrows, which is really nice because I was struggling to find chickens to make the arrows needed. And then the emerald chest that I looted actually had some insane loot in it with extremely powerful weapons and this shield totem, which basically makes me invincible for a short amount of time when I use it. So obviously that was really, really nice. I then went looting some more. I don't want to show you all of that because it's pretty repetitive, but this right here is probably the best chest I got. It had a corrupt beacon, which is an insanely powerful weapon. And as I was circling my way back home from all of this looting, I actually came across this low-level dragon, so I figured we might as well just take it on. So I ate my golden apple, went in with my sword, and yeah, this thing was absolutely tearing me to pieces and very nearly killed me. So I went ahead, retreated, and used my shielding totem, which turned out to be completely unnecessary, as the dragon was 2 hits away from death. So yeah, didn't need to waste that, but hey, we conquered our very first dragon in this video. So I went ahead and looted all of that, and obviously it gives you the dragon scales, which can be used to make extremely strong armor. Also, during nighttime, there was this ghost just hovering in front of the moon, and there was other ominous figures out in the distance, and that was really creepy, and I was getting flanked by this random medieval night patrol. So yeah, that was obviously really scary, so I very quickly made my way home to go ahead and sleep. And now that we had even more loot, it's just an absolute ton of loot from going to all of those dungeon outposts, I finally figured we were strong enough to take on an entire castle. So I summoned an iron golem to help me out, and I used this totem, which actually gives me strength to one-shot all of these knights. So I used all of that, and the strength lasted me long enough to take care of all of the knights on the ground floor of this castle. But the problem is, there's still like another 30 knights up on the balcony of this castle. So I made my way up there, and we slowly started to take care of all of them. Now, at one point, I did have to go home to get a bit more loot and some potions and stuff like that because we were running low, but in time, we did manage to clear out all of the knights in this thing, and we were finally able to start looting the chests. One of these chests gave me a full stack of arrows, which was extremely useful. Unfortunately, however, the rest of the chests up here weren't really that useful, and I just cleared out the rest of the archers, kind of grabbed all of that loot. But once I went into the house in the middle of the castle, we started getting good loot again, getting a ton of iron, diamonds, a whole stack of logs. I ran over here to find a nether chest where we got even more iron and diamonds, and we got enchanting books that had things like looting and mending, so extremely powerful enchanting books. So I decided to use some of those as well as my levels to start enchanting my pickaxe. I combined several different pickaxes together using an anvil because I couldn't quite make a level 30 enchanter yet, and from all of that we managed to get an efficiency 3 unbreaking 2 pickaxe, which is certainly good enough for now. I also enchanted all of my armor, just getting some basic enchantments on all of that, hoping it would last me a little while. But by now I wanted to actually build my own castle, and for that I was going to need an absolute ton of stone bricks, and I figured it'd be a lot easier just to break all of these stone bricks from the existing castle and then repurpose it, rather than mining a bunch of cobblestone and having to smelt it and craft it into bricks. So I spent several days mining out an absolute ton of this castle, as well as getting even more supplies to crafting all of the blocks necessary for this entire thing, until finally all we needed left was a few stacks of spruce logs. So I already knew where a spruce biome was, so I made my way over there and started mining away with my new axe. Also, this needed to be stripped spruce logs, so I obviously stripped them, then mined them to go ahead and save myself some time. And finally, after many days of just gathering supplies, we had absolutely everything necessary to make our castle. I needed a plot of land, obviously, to put this castle in, so I found this really flat area near spawn, and I started using a water bucket to clear everything out. I then set a foundation of where all the blocks were going to go, just to help me out a little bit, and I tried for at least an hour to get replay mod to work, but unfortunately replay mod needs the fabric mod loader, which is incompatible with several several of the mods that I have, and try as I might, I couldn't get it to work, and I didn't like anything else or how anything else turned out. So after the entire 100-day video was up, and as I was editing this, I actually decided to rebuild this entire castle again in a separate creative world, just to give you guys a general idea of the process that I had to go through to build this castle. And finally, after quite a number of days of work, this thing was finally done and fully built. And this thing looked absolutely amazing. I really loved it. Huge shout out to the actual designer of this castle. Credit will be in the description. So yeah, we finally had a proper storage area, some proper farms going, and things were starting to look up for us. But by now, I did want to go exploring a bit more, so I eventually came across what appeared to be a castle outpost, but there were no knights here, so it kind of confused me a bit until I noticed that it was actually a dungeon staircase. Going down it led me to this huge dungeon area here. I started looting it, but I heard something as I opened the chest, and sure enough, I accidentally triggered a booby trap on the very first set of good chests I actually found. Next, after exploring it a whole ton more, I found a way to go down even more, and to the point where we were basically at Y0 with this dungeon, and we were coming across some super dangerous mobs. Yet again, these chests didn't really have any amazing loot in them. I was still checking them all for traps until I finally found my way to the center of this thing. And these chests in the middle obviously had insane loot in them, with just an absolute ton of emeralds, diamonds, gold, fully enchanted armor, and weapons. It was absolutely insane the amount of loot that we got from this thing. I also came across these weird totem things.
What the heck are you? Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get out my. What the heck? It just all blew up. What is this? There's more. No, okay, no, I'm at. No, stop it. I'm out of here. The loot isn't good enough for this. I'm done. Goodbye.
So I made my way back to the surface and back home, where I stored and sorted all of my new loot that I had acquired. And by now, I wanted to find a Roman outpost. It took me quite a number of days, but finally we were able to find one, and we started working on taking them all out. They were way more powerful than the regular knights that we were taking on, so I decided to play it safe using my iron bow to shoot them. This iron bow doesn't need to be charged at all, so it's really useful, and after a little while, we were finally able to take care of all of the knights and start looting the chests. We did get a good amount of arrows from this, as well as some really good books. Overall, I was really happy with the loot that we got from this thing. I also managed to find an absolute ton of food. So yeah, this was definitely a worthwhile experience conquering all of these Romans, as we got quite a good amount of loot from it. As I was exploring some more, I actually noticed 2 dragon dens right next to each other, which was really interesting. So I went over to them, eventually found the dragon, and worked on taking down this dragon. I also found Thor's hammer, so I used Thor's hammer to take on a dragon in Minecraft, which is quite possibly one of the most odd sentences I may have ever said in my life, but it is still true nonetheless. The dragon did manage to do quite a lot of damage to us, even with our really powerful armor, but after a little bit of time, we were able to take this dragon down. Now I wanted to go ahead and take down the other dragon that was right next to us, and for this one, I had a corrupt beacon, which again, I said is probably the most powerful thing I own, but I've never used it, so I wanted to test it out.
Alright, let's test this thing out. What do you do here? Ooh, oh, a laser? Okay, hang on, can we just spam this thing?
So, like I said, extremely powerful and quite hilarious to use. But what's also really interesting is you look at the boss bar there. As you can see, Nameless, the major boss, is near here. So I wrote down the coordinates of where we were at, so that way I could locate Nameless for later in the video when I wanted to take them down. Also, while exploring, I came across this cyclops and dragon fighting each other. I did not bait them into doing this. They were just randomly fighting each other as I was running by. So I figured that was hilarious, and I would stay and watch to see who would win, and of course the dragon won. but not before the cyclops took out like 200 of its HP. So I grabbed my corrupt beacon and I figured, you know what, why not? It's so low on HP, we might as well just go ahead and finish this poor little dragon off. Grabbed my XP and all of that dragon scales so I can make some more armor in the future. When I got home, I decided to add some of these books to my sword to make it even more powerful, because we've been acquiring these books for quite some time, and using all of them, I got literally just an absolutely insanely OP sword. I also had to go back out and gain a ton of XP over the next several days of just fighting random mobs and dragons and stuff like that, and by doing that, we were able to enchant the rest of our armor. We got some protection as well as some weird enchantments on the rest of our armor. I also went ahead and crafted new leggings and boots from all the dragon scales that we got. We got feather falling on the boots and protection on the leggings, so overall we were pretty set now on our armor for quite a while. But like I said before, this armor breaks really easily since how it's so powerful, so it'll only last a short amount of time. But since how I had this new armor, I figured it was the perfect time to actually go and explore the Nether and get all of the blaze rods we would need to go find the end. So I loaded into the Nether here, and it was actually really interesting how much the Nether had changed with these mods. Not for the better, mind you. It was really annoying to traverse my way through this thing, and it took me so very long to find a fortress. It was really quite annoying, but after quite a while of exploring, find the fortress we did, and I decided the easiest way to actually go over to it would be to mine my way through the roof, so that's exactly what I did, until finally we were at the fortress. I went ahead and looted some of the chests. Most of it was really boring, but these boots were actually really cool. When you right click them, they gave you speed. That was probably the best thing I found in this entire fortress. And after that, circling through this entire thing several times, I eventually realized this entire fortress had no blaze spawner, which is really annoying. So I had to just circle around this thing over and over and over again, waiting for blazes to randomly spawn all around it, which took a lot more time than it needed to. But yeah, we did have a looting 3 sword, so that did help shorten the process a little bit, but still was quite annoying until finally we killed the last blaze that we needed, got us to 9 blaze rods, which should be enough for the rest of our future endeavors. Once home, I obviously made all of the Eyes of Ender, and I figured we were just going to take on the Ender Dragon now, because why not? Ender Dragon is obviously going to be super simple. It is not the boss battle that I am worried about in this video. Once I located the stronghold, this stupid cyclops was like directly overhead of where I needed to be, so took him out because he was in my way. I then found the exact spot of where the stronghold was. However, I didn't properly prepare for this stronghold fight. I actually was running out of food and my bow was nearly about to break, so I did have to get some extra supplies first. Cyclops always have a supply of just random sheep. I knew where they were here, so I went over to them, killed them to get the mutton that I needed for my extra food, and killed some spiders so that way I could make another bow. Once that was done, I finally could mine my way down to the stronghold and was immediately greeted with a couple different libraries, so that was really cool. After exploring a little bit, I noticed the portal room, so I made my way in there, but we weren't quite ready to go in there yet. I still needed a few iron to remake an iron bow, so I found my way back into the cave system, grabbed the iron that was necessary, and I have to say, these cave systems are really interesting. All of the green you are seeing glowing is actually emeralds, and I honestly cannot wait for all of Minecraft to eventually look like this with the new advanced cave systems. So once I smelted that iron, I had made myself a new iron bow. I also made a regular bow to help me take out the towers in the end, because this iron bow actually doesn't shoot as far, so I knew I was gonna need a regular bow. I then cooked all of this mutton to give me all of the food that I needed, and finally, with all of that, we were actually ready to make our way into the end to take on the Ender Dragon. And my goodness, the end actually looks so cool with this shader pack on, with the glowing purple borders and just the glowing of the purple eyes of the Enderman. It really looks quite amazing here. And like I said, I needed obviously the regular bow to help me take on all of the towers. Had to turn down my volume a bit because always the Ender Dragon is so amazingly loud. We went on, took care of all of the towers and started to attack the Ender Dragon. And somehow, some way, I didn't notice that there was still one tower active and managed to waste an absolute ton of my arrows, so good job me. Once I actually took care of that tower, finally we could start damaging the Ender Dragon. So I decided just for fun, I was actually going to use Thor's hammer to take on this dragon, but apparently the dragon did not like that and launched me in the air. I decided to give it yet another try, and surprise, surprise, she launched me in the air again. Luckily, I did have this feather to save me from the fall damage, otherwise I probably would have died. But yeah, that was gonna have to be it for Thor's hammer, and I just had to do the rest of this with a regular old boring sword. I didn't really want to waste my arrows, so after missing a few shots with my bow here, I just decided I was going to wait for her to perch again before doing the last bit of damage, and it actually took, for some reason, several minutes for her to perch, which was really annoying, but finally, she did perch. I purled over, and we did the last little bit of damage to the Ender Dragon. Overall, again, not really that complicated of a fight, thanks to all of the OP gear and armor that I have acquired in this video. Grabbed all of that XP, and of course, always gotta remember to grab the dragon egg. And now I wanted to find myself an end city. I was hoping for an elytra, obviously, so I went through the portal, came across these odd structures, which I have no idea what they were or what they did, but after checking them out, I realized that they were all just filled in and there were no chests or anything with them, so they were pretty much pointless. So I went on exploring, and as I was looking up to throw this ender pearl, I noticed this structure in the sky, which wasn't an end city, but I didn't know what it was. So I decided, hey, why not? Let's go figure out what it is. So I towered my way up there, purled over, and I noticed there was an end troll in here, which is an incredibly powerful mob. It's like a mini boss, basically, so I figured, why the heck not? We're gonna go ahead and take this thing on. So I used Thor's hammer to go ahead and take care of this poor little end troll. It did an absolute ton of damage to it, so that was really awesome. And unfortunately for me, though, this stupid end troll had some explosive attacks and accidentally broke all of the chests with my loot in it. So rather than just killing the end troll right away, I went ahead and grabbed this loot because I didn't want him to destroy it all. So once I finished all of that, I then just went in with my super powerful sword and just did the rest of this damage to this end troll. Overall, he wasn't really that challenging, didn't do that much damage to me, but he did give me this really useful end troll skin, which I can use for some really OP crafting later in the video. Unfortunately, at this point, we actually completely ran out of food, and I had to rely primarily on chorus fruit to heal me. Unfortunately, though, with chorus fruit is it teleports you a little bit whenever you eat it, which is incredibly annoying, but it was literally the only thing that I had going for me, so I had to use it. And after exploring for a little bit more, I eventually came across this end city, but unfortunately, it was a really small end city, and it didn't have a boat, which meant no elytra. Yeah, I did obviously still loot it to see what we could get. My inventory was actually so full of loot that I had to use the ender chest in this end city to store away some of my loot, so that way I can continue getting more. I made sure to grab several shulker boxes from this thing, looted all of the chests, and didn't really get anything too amazing, but still did get a new sword and some iron golem spawners, so that was pretty nice. And as I was actually making my way back to my portal to get out of here, I noticed what appeared to be a crashed end ship. So I decided to break out all of this end stone to see if there was a hidden chest in here anywhere, quite possibly with an elytra. And after a while, I found this chest, and it did not have an elytra. It had some low-level loot in it, so yeah, not really worth it, but oh well. So from that, I decided, you know what, we should probably just find our way home. I probably wasn't gonna find an elytra today. I went ahead, made my way back over to my portal. Unfortunately for me, however, I totally forgot to break the bed that I temporarily slept in right above the stronghold, so we did not go back to spawn. But overall, pretty quick fix. Just go ahead and sleep to bring us the day. This time, actually remember to break the bed, and now all we have to do is go back down to the stronghold and through the portal. And I actually had a dumb idea. I could just place water and slowly float down to the bottom here, but no, I want to MLG water. And of course I hit it because I am literally the greatest LNG water player of all time. The amount of practice I have with that is insane. I literally never miss. Never mind the fact that if I did miss, this entire video would have been over at that point, but whatever. Once I made my way home, I used the end troll skin to actually make this end troll box, which is the exact same thing as a shulker box, but is twice as big. So that's obviously really nice. So I literally just fit as much loot in this thing as I could possibly think of, and we were good to go. I also AFK'd for several days to get all of the carrots necessary to get my golden carrots, because I haven't really spent enough time around my castle for those carrots to grow yet, so I had to take care of that. And by now, I figured it was finally time to take on Furious Rotnot, the knight that guards my base. So I used an X-ray glitch to go ahead and help me find him. I did set up the mods, that way he should be somewhere near spawn. And so I was under spawn looking for him. I turned around and there you go. Sure enough, he was only about 50 to 100 blocks away from the exact spawn location. So that was pretty convenient. I mined my way over to him and I wasn't exactly certain how to take him down. Every time you would swing at him, it would do no damage to him. Until eventually I noticed that sword in his back and I figured that was his weak point. After trying out a few other things, I realized that was the only other thing that it could be. So I attacked that and sure enough, we finally did some damage to him. We had to wait for him to attack so we can get behind him. I was a little bit impatient there, managed to get hit and very nearly die. So had to learn to be a bit more patient, and we had to wait for him to get his axe stuck in the ground so that way we go behind and hit his weak spot. So overall, that's just what I did for the next several minutes of this fight until finally he was on only 1 HP. I did try to sneak around him a few other times and yeah, it never worked. The only way you could ever get behind him is waiting for him to get his axe stuck. And there you go. We finally dealt the final hit and we took him down. He dropped his helmet and his axe. The helmet really isn't amazing. I mean, it never breaks, but it's not super powerful. The axe, on the other hand, is insane. The amount of things you can do with this thing is so amazingly fun. The next night, I actually decided to test it out, and you can use this insane ground pound ability to launch enemies in the air and towards you. So I just used it to absolutely combo that skeleton, which is just so insanely fun. I loved this thing. And now I wanted to prepare for the actual major boss fights. And first I was going to take on Nameless the Witch, so I decided to make a ton of health potions because health potions actually damage undead mobs. So I figured if I made a ton of these, I would be able to easily clear out all of the mobs that Nameless would spawn in. And after a bit more preparation, we were finally working on finding the exact location of where Nameless is. And the way I wanted to do that was actually use the boss bar for help. If we found out the exact parameters of where the boss bar would appear and disappear, we could find the exact center of that location to find out where Nameless is. However, this stupid dragon had other plans. As I was trying to find where Nameless was hidden, this dragon just started randomly attacking me. It was just flying around me and just fire breathing on me and never getting on the ground and letting me attack it. And it was easily one of the most annoying dragons I've ever faced. Eventually though, it did go on the ground, so I could use my beacon just to go ahead and finish off this dumb little dragon. Once that was done, I continued working on finding out the exact center where Nameless is hidden. And while doing all of that, I actually realized Redstone Monstrosity was near here as well, so I figured that was quite convenient. After finding what I thought was the exact center where Nameless was hidden, I realized I forgot to bring the supplies with me to do my X-ray glitch, so I had to really quickly run my way home and run all the way back. Once done though, I did the glitch and surprisingly I didn't see where Nameless was hidden. So I figured I simply did it wrong, found the boundaries again, went to a new spot, and I was certain that this is the exact spot where Nameless should be. So I figured the only way that I didn't see Nameless's first time is his dungeon must be hidden far more underground than I tested the first time, and sure enough, right near Y0, here is Nameless's chamber. I wasn't quite ready to take Nameless on yet. I still did need a few more supplies. So I marked the spot where he is hidden, went back home, and one of the main improvements that I made was getting a shield. And this diamond shield can block just about any damage that is thrown at it, and you can also right click and attack with this shield to do damage and quite possibly set mobs on fire with this shield. And with that, finally I was ready to take on my most challenging fight yet. So I decided just to break a small little portion into Nameless's chambers, that way I could throw in all of my health potions. And my plan was working flawlessly. We managed to damage quite a lot of these mobs to get them basically on 1 HP to make overall a lot of this just a little bit easier. Once I used all of my health potions, it was time to go in, so I ate one of my enchanted golden apples, ran in, summoned my iron golems, used my golem totem, and we started attacking all of these mobs. And my goodness, there was a lot of them. Thankfully though, my armor was blocking a lot of this damage, but again, be careful because this armor couldn't take a lot of hits before it broke. So I needed to try and do this fight as fast as possible. I used Furious Rotnot's axe to help me take on a lot of these mobs all at once, and I was really just trying to look for an opening to finally attack Nameless, which was really challenging because he flew above all of his mobs and was sort of hiding. Eventually I did manage to get one little shot on him, but overall obviously not quite enough. With the help of my iron golems, I cleared out enough to the point where I could finally charge Nameless. I got one hit on him again before his army of the undead surrounded me and pushed me out of the way. I also decided to use my bow to do some damage to Furious. However, as I got one hit on him, the ghosts flew in my face and started body blocking me, so that was really annoying. I eventually got cornered in this chamber, and I was literally trying to move forward to get out, but I couldn't. These mobs' hitboxes were literally blocking me. I thought this was quite possibly it for me, as I knew my armor was getting near the point of breaking. However, for some reason, Nameless actually flew into this little room with me. And right there he is, so I was able to use my shield bash to actually deal some damage to him until finally we got the final hit on Nameless. And with that, no more mobs would be spawning, and we were all done. That was easily one of the most challenging fights I have ever been in. My helmet actually broke right at the end there, so I used Nameless's gear as a replacement, and we also had Nameless's staff, which basically just is an arrow type attack, so that's kind of interesting. And I figured since how we were already down here, we might as well look for Redstone Monstrosity's chamber, since how he was in the area as well. So I used my X-ray glitch and I saw this room kind of close to me, so I figured that is probably it. So I mined my way over there, and the first room I was in, I was immediately greeted by a ton of TNT, so I obviously took care of all of that because I definitely did not want to trigger any type of trap and just explode myself. These chests actually had some pretty good loot in them with some really powerful swords and totems, so I looted all of that, then made my way in front of Redstone Monstrosity, who was sleeping, so I just shot him with a bow and woke him up. Was it the smartest idea? Probably not. I probably should have went back home to get some more loot to better prepare myself for this, but I figured, nah, we're just gonna go back to back, one boss fight to the other. Apparently a bow doesn't work on him, so that was really annoying. I went ahead and summoned the last iron golem that I had, and this iron golem was actually doing some work, a ton of damage to him, until eventually for some reason the iron golem just decided to stop attacking Redstone Monstrosity, and so I got close and accidentally fell down into all of these redstone cubes who were doing massive amounts of damage to me. Had to eat the golden enchanted apple, tried to tower my way away, but they knocked me down and things were not looking good for me at this moment. I had to use my specialty items until finally I was able to escape all of these cubes. I tried to get the iron golem to start attacking Redstone Monstrosity again, but he just was not having it. He wanted to attack all of the cubes, so I figured I'd do it myself. But then again, I got accidentally hit down, so I had to use some of my energy powder to save myself from dying, as well as the wind horn to push some of these cubes away. I very nearly came close to death several times throughout all of this, but eventually I was able to shove them all out of my way so I could yet again tower back up and get to safety. So this time I decided to very carefully approach Redstone Monstrosity, and for some reason every time I got close to him, he like pulled me in and he would try to knock me down on the ground, which was really annoying. So I built this sort of safety system to prevent that from happening. I then got close enough to actually place some TNT and light it with my bow, and I was hoping that this would do quite a bit of damage to him. It did some damage, not as much as I was hoping, but it still did do some. So I slowly did that, that time and time again until I noticed most of my armor was actually near broken. And I figured, yeah, if I slowly did that even more, all of these little attacks were going to break my armor and I stood no chance of defeating him. So I just needed to go all in right now. So I used the shielding totem to make myself nearly invincible for about a 10-second period of time, and then just spammed all of this TNT all around Redstone monstrosity. And then went ahead and lit it and made my getaway. And I was kind of hoping that that would just kill him, you know? And it was close. It did a little bit of damage, but again, not quite as much I was hoping. In reality, all it did was actually make him free to move around more by clearing all of those blocks, so kind of a mistake. But again, I knew my armor was breaking, so I had to do something drastic to finally finish him off. So I put on the last bit of armor that I had, ate the golden apple, went down, used my shield potions that I had, which it's a good thing that I had them, because if I didn't, I definitely would have died. But using those, I did manage to finally deal the last hit on Redstone monstrosity, and all we had to do was clear out the rest of these redstone cubes, and we were all done with this boss. So I went over to where he died to grab his loot, and this thing actually gave me insane loot. It gave me this cold knight armor, which is way better armor than Nameless gave me, so that was really awesome. Taking on these two bosses literally depleted nearly all of the resources I had. Basically, all of my armor is broken, all of my consumables and potions and totems are now done and gone. But hey, we still did manage to take on the final two bosses, so I mean, worth it in the end. I also mined in the wall, just that way I could tower my way out of here because I ran out of blocks, and I accidentally came across some diamonds. That was kind of cool. I didn't really have anything to do on these final days, so I just sort of AFK'd and messed around and sorted my chests for a little bit for the final couple of days until finally it was sunset on day 99. I didn't really have any pets, so I just summoned an iron golem to be with me on the final day, because why not? Iron golems are kind of cool. Yeah, this is all of the loot that we ended up with. All of it is pretty low level and pretty much useless compared to what armor I do have. So yeah, like I said, all of my good armor completely broken now thanks to taking on these final bosses. It was finally nighttime on day 99, so I slept to officially bring us to day 100 in medieval Minecraft. This was easily one of the most interesting and fun videos I have ever recorded in Minecraft. Seriously, these 100 days just absolutely flew by. I basically played this entire world all day, non-stop, for 2 days. That is how fast I got this entire thing recorded. It was so much fun. So I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.